In this video, I'm going to research a prospect and send them a personalized email. I'm going to take a recording of a client meeting and turn it into a complete set of deliverables for me and my team to understand. I'm going to take a set of messy WhatsApp messages, invoices, and spreadsheets from a construction company and turn it into a usable and actionable dashboard. I'm going to take a single coaching session and turn it into a complete training program and show you an AI agent that interviews new leads before you ever speak to them. I'm Elliot Callender and I run Remote Humans, and I've spent the last nearly 2 decades making complex technology understandable for people. And for the last 2 years, I've helped businesses and leaders understand how to use AI and what it means for them in the way that they work. By the end of this video, you will have seen AI doing real work across 5 core parts of a business, and you'll understand exactly what to try first. I'm going to walk you through 5 business functions: getting the work, doing the work, running the business, managing the people, and growing the business. And these 5 core functions apply to any business of some shape and form. Whether you are an independent entrepreneur, you are a small to medium-sized business with a team, or a large corporation with thousands of people. If you'd like to follow along, open up ChatGPT, Claude, or NotebookLM, and let's do this together. Most people know that AI can do lots of different things, but they're only using one particular function, maybe 2, writing and perhaps using it as a thought partner. Realistically, that is just you using a corkscrew out of the Swiss Army knife, and that's perfectly fine, but there is a whole world out there of new opportunities and possibilities. Quick pause. This video is sponsored by me. 2 quick things for you. The first thing is, below is a link to my newsletter, How Work Works Now, where I share how people are using AI and how it is changing how they work and how work gets done in various different industries. The second thing is, if you would like to work with me, I've got a link below as well to my offerings, and I would love to hear from you. All right, back to the video. So let's take a look at the 5 parts of a business where AI makes a big difference. In the center, you have the functions. So getting work, doing the work, running the business, managing people, and growing the business. Everyone has to do something around these core 5 functions in some shape and form. That then feeds out to the areas of the business. So that may look like sales and biz dev. It could be the delivery of your products and services. It could be quality control. It may be finance, ops, and admin. It could be, hiring and the communication and the culture creation within your business as well. Could be the strategic direction and coming up with that. And so those areas are aspects of the business that ultimately make it run. That then feeds out to the workflows and the tasks that you actually do in order to move the business forward and deliver the value that you're creating. So it could be client sessions that you have. It could be actually creating the deliverables behind your products and services. It could be then invoicing the clients and managing your expenses. It could be interviewing people to bring them into your organization, into your business, creating job descriptions. It may then also look like social media creation and content creation or marketing. All of these workflows and tasks, AI can be very useful for, and in many senses, you're probably just using a tiny percentage of what it's actually capable of doing. So let's take a look at the first function of a business and see how perhaps AI can be helpful in that sense. Getting the work is the first core function, and we're going to research a prospect and then come up with a personalized email. So I've got a prompt here. It's just a very simple prompt that says, research the prospect's name, check their LinkedIn, website, and their recent activity, and write a personalized outreach email that references something specific about their business. We're going to use ChatGPT for this because I want to show you different tools and how different AI actually functions and works. So we're in ChatGPT now, and I've copied the prompt, and I'm just going to simply send it off and let ChatGPT crank through that, and we'll see how it thinks and how it approaches this particular task. You can see it's already thinking. We've put extended thinking on so that we get the best possible answer, and it's going to go through the process of looking up different sources of information from the internet, pulling that all together, and then creating the output. And that's something that is important to think about, is where are the sources of information coming from? What context have you given the AI and the tool? So that could be your business context. It could be information about how you work, your products and services. The more information that you can actually provide it, the better the output and the personalization and customization will be. You can see it's searching the internet, and it's giving you some commentary as it goes through. And so this will crank through for a couple of minutes, so you can come back and then look at the output when you are ready. This thought through the task for 2 minutes and 50 seconds. If we click into the thoughts, you can actually see the level of thinking that it's actually gone through, and you can see the sources of information that it's pulled through as well from the internet. So you can see Business Insider here. If we click on there, we can actually see more information, Reuters, etc. And so that's very helpful for corroborating and just making sure that the information is accurate. You can go and take a look at the sources if you wished, and then you can take a look at what is actually created. So here you can see the thinking that it's put together, and then also the output in terms of the email. Then you can edit it if you wished. What I wanted to do is add it to my actual Gmail or my email and make sure that I can systemize this process a little bit more rather than just having to copy and paste it. So to do that, I can just go down to the plus button, go to more, and then go to Gmail, and then just ask it to, can you please just add this draft into my emails, and I'll take a look at it. Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to these digital humans as well. So we'll send this off and see what it comes up with. Because it's connected to my Gmail, I should be able to then go into the drafts and see my lovely draft ready for me to play around with, edit, and send off. So you can see here, it doesn't have a participant's email address, so it may actually ask me for that. If we have connected up to, for instance, your CRM, or maybe it's a Notion database where you have your contacts, a spreadsheet even, then it would then go off and take a look at that information, look at those sources, and try to pull in the relevant contact as well. So here is created the draft, and if we go and take a look at my emails, we'll see the draft there. All right, so I'm here in my drafts in Gmail. If I click on the draft, we can see here that it's created the draft, and if I expand that, you'll see that was pretty easy in terms of connecting up ChatGPT to these different tools. It doesn't mean that you have to focus on just copying and pasting. You can actually connect all of these different apps and tools together as well. What I do find is that ChatGPT and the UI is not as integrated as, say, Claude Cowork or some other apps. And so that's what we'll take a look at next. The second business function in any business is doing the work. Once you've got the work, you need to do the work. And so we're going to use Claude Cowork, which is an AI tool, to process a meeting and a coaching session. And this is a real-life coaching session that I did with one of my clients. We're going to take the transcript and we're going to feed it into the AI tool. We're going to create a page within Notion. Notion is kind of like a Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Calendar workspace that you can use as a knowledge base. And we're going to create a structured meeting summary within the Notion database and space. We're going to create action items behind the client session, and we're going to also create a set of key decisions, and we're going to create a follow-up email to send to the client, and that will be an automated process. Before, we saw with ChatGPT, it's able to connect to different apps and sources of information. However, what it can't do is do that all in sequence. The beauty of Claude Cowork is that you can create whole AI workflows and just allow it to run through that without you needing to be involved. So let's go and take a look at that. All right, I'm in Claude Cowork and the Claude app. You need to download the Claude app, which is available for Mac and also Windows, and you'll see 3 tabs. The first tab is Chat, which is just your usual Claude chat. Then Cowork is where the magic is. This is essentially Claude code in the background, but in a simpler form and UI. It has the power of Claude Code, where you can build whole workflows, you can build apps, you can build AI-generated workflows and tools as well, but you don't have all of the functionality, and you don't need all of the functionality as a business user. So you can do a lot of work in Claude Cowork. And then the third tab is Claude Code. And so that is actually where you could build all of your apps, websites, and deeper functionality within the workflows. We're going to focus on Claude Cowork for now. In the center, you can see here that we have just a chat box, and we can select a project if we wanted to. A project is just a packaging up of information, context resources, and assets that are specific to that particular workflow or the project that you're working on and or the task. So you can select that, and I'm going to select the one that I've created already. I'm going to allow it access. And essentially, that is just going to work in that space. So again, permissions-wise, you can make sure that it is kind of sandboxed and ensure that it only works with the information that you give it. Next, we're going to just paste in the prompt, and then I'm going to add the actual files. So we can just go to plus here, add the files, and I have a folder already with the transcript, so I'm going to add that in. Now, I'm going to use Opus. Opus 4.6 at the moment is the biggest, baddest model that you can throw at it, and it has a lot of power. It is at the frontier of the AI brains and power. And so I'm going to use that because I want to really comb through the transcript to make sure that we have all of the information. You can select perhaps Sonnet if you wanted to, which is a great everyday driver, but I'm going to go for Opus for now. So just going to send that off and let that crank through. What you'll start to see is on the right-hand side, there's a progress bar with to-dos, and you'll see what the AI comes up with in terms of the tasks that it needs to do for this particular workflow. We also can see that we have a set of instructions and also the context here. The context is just the files, the information that we have given it. It also has a connector. So again, in Claude, in the app and Claude Cowork, as well as code, they can be connected up to the different apps, and they call it connectors. And so you can connect it up to Google Drive, Gmail, and other apps and tools as well. So you can see the connectors. And then you'll notice down here, if I just move this slightly, you'll be able to see that I'm also using a skill. A skill is just simply a framework or a manual for the AI to follow in terms of a pattern and how I want it to process this particular transcript. So I've taught it, and this is the main way that we are teaching AI to follow SOPs and the design of format of certain tasks. You create a skill, and then that can be uploaded to any of the main AI models and apps. And it just follows that, and it goes through that, and it just means that each and every time the output will be roughly similar to what you are used to, what you've guided it, and how you have actually trained it as well. So skills are just kind of cookbooks or manuals for AI. It's very simple. It's just a markdown file, and that is really, really helpful for using AI and making sure that it goes in the right direction. So let's take a look at what it's cranking through. We can see that it's creating the Notion pages, it's updated the to-do list, it is then just processing. Basically, we have a set of to-dos, and we'll see that just going through, and you just basically let it go, and you can come back to it. You don't necessarily need to babysit this as well. If you give it certain permissions, and it will ask for permission each time unless you just allow always, it will then crank through your task and you don't have to keep an eye on it. It will go through the to-do lists. It will use the connectors and the context that you've given it, and then it will notify you once it's done. So we'll come back to it and take a look at what it's done once it's cranked through and processed all of that information. So Claude Cowork has finished, and it's created the Notion page, and it has helpfully updated my CRM, and it's created the Gmail draft. So let's take a look at each of them. First of all, the Notion page, we can take a look, and it has created it in my meetings database. It has given us meeting summary. It's created the main points, and it's created the action items as well, and it's also created talking points, and it's put the whole transcript into the Notion page. So that allowed me to create the output from the coaching session, and I can now send it off by email. Let's take a look at the email draft. So it's saying that it has created the follow-up email in Gmail. Let's take a look. So we can see the draft here. It's saying, hey Lucas, great session today. Here's a quick recap. Here are the action items. The action items on my side, and it just reiterated kind of some information that I shared in the coaching session. And it feels pretty relevant to what I would share and how I would say it as well. So that's perfect. I could then send that off. It's picked up Lucas's email address, and that's all good. So that's really great. Next, we'll take a look at another demo. So you can see the power of using Claude Cowork to create whole workflows without you having to do every step and without you having to necessarily be involved in each of the steps as well. So the third function within a business is running the business. And in this demo, I'm going to show you taking multiple messy sources of information and turning it into something that is easily understandable, substantial, and that allows you to take actions on it. I'm going to create a dashboard and also a PDF report with construction company's details. It's going to take WhatsApp messages, it's going to take invoices, it's also going to take the spreadsheets from the company, and from that we'll be able to turn it into something that's usable. So I've got the prompt here. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go into Claude Cowork again. So I'm going to select the project. I've already created a project in here, which is basically just connected to a folder within my computer. It means that that is the space that it's going to work in. So I'm going to select that and just allow it access to that. I'm going to put my prompt in, and then I'm going to connect up and attach the information. So if we go to the files, and then select all of my files. So here I have an outstanding list of information that was just from like an Apple Notes, and then I have the invoices, I have WhatsApp messages, and I have an Excel spreadsheet of the jobs that they are tracking as well. So let's just take all of those and attach it to the chat. And now I'm just going to simply send it off and wait for it to finish. And you'll be able to see the progress on the right-hand side. It will ask you for some permissions sometimes, so just keep an eye on the chat area. And you'll be able to see it adding the context at here and also adding the connections. So remember, we are connecting to different apps sometimes. So it might ask you to connect up to, say, Notion or Gmail, depending on your task, but I am not asking it to connect up to anything here. We're just simply creating an output in the form of a dashboard and a PDF. So we'll let that chug along and we'll come back to it when it's finished. Okay, it's finished, and it's saying that it has a PDF report and also an interactive dashboard for us. Let's take a look at the PDF report. I'm just going to go over here. And we can see that it has a really nicely laid out PDF with a summary of what's going on in the business, some financial details. It has details about the jobs and then also the prioritization behind them and the risks. It has outstanding supplier invoices and some priority actions for the week ahead. along with the financial risk as well. So again, that is taking multiple different messy sources of information and putting it into a really nicely laid out form that can be understood and also shared across the team. Let's take a look at the dashboard that it created. And actually, I'm going to click here. Right, so again, this is really lovely. This is a dashboard that is interactive. We can click on the buttons. It will show us different data and information and break down what is going on in the business. And this is so much clearer than the messy spreadsheets, the WhatsApp messages that were flying around, and also the invoices that weren't connected up and fully understood. So you can see the power again of Claude Cowork and using AI within different parts of your business to just simply create clarity. So let's take a look at what's next as well. The fourth function in a business is managing people. And in this part, we're going to take a coaching session and turn it into a training program. And for this, we're going to use a tool called NotebookLM, which is by Google. So we'll take the prompt and we will go into NotebookLM. We'll start in this screen, and then up the top right, you'll see Create New. Click that, and then we are greeted with an area on the UI that allows you to add sources. The really great thing about NotebookLM is that you can pull in different sources, just kind of like what we did with Claude Cowork, but the beauty of this is you can add YouTube videos, you can upload information from Google Drive, you can also upload text, which you could do with Claude Cowork as well. But in here, I'm just going to use the source of information, which is our files, and I'm going to add that in from our folder and open that up. And on the left-hand side, this is where your sources will be. So you'll be able to see all of the sources. And if you were to search the web, it would fill the left-hand box as well with the sources too. In here, in the chat box, we're just going to add the prompt. And you can see on the right-hand side here, we have some different options. We can create an audio overview, which is essentially a podcast. So imagine creating podcasts from your training materials or from your coaching sessions that gives people the information in an audible way, so that perhaps is going to help them with their learning style. You can create a slide deck, a video overview, a mind map, reports, flashcards, quizzes even, infographics, and data tables. So what we're going to do here is we're going to ask it to pick something and create a set of training materials from that coaching session that we have there. So we can see that it's broken it down into different modules. Module 1, the AI multi-tool strategy. This will all be customized and personalized to your context. So we have module 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it said that it's created an infographic, a slide deck, and an audible or audio overview. So let's go over here. Let's take a look at the slide deck. And I'm going to play that. Great. So this looks pretty good. Compared to the amount of effort that you would take to actually create this visual yourself from the coaching materials and from the transcript, this allows you to very quickly create the whole set of programs and content and then share that amongst the team or with your clients or the people that you need to bring up to speed. So that's great. All right, we're going to now take a look at the infographic. It's created a bunch of details regarding the coaching session. It's very easily understandable and easily shareable as well. The text is all pretty much correct, it looks like. So that is something to just note. Sometimes AI gets the text wrong or doesn't put the right information where it needs to be. So you can go through this process and just iterate through it. But ultimately, this has created a set of training materials that I can now share with whoever I wish. And I didn't have to take hours in various different apps like Canva to actually get it created. You can see it's still creating the audio overview. It actually failed, so I just asked it to try again. But ultimately, you're able to use this tool in order to learn different things, in order to create different training materials, or actually understanding multiple different sources just from your perspective as well. It's really, really handy. So let's take a look at the next part of the business. The fifth and final aspect and function of the business is growing the business. And in this part, I've actually created a discovery agent, which helps me in my own business to reduce the amount of time that it takes to have a discovery call and conversation with a prospective client. And it also helps me to coach the prospective client as well. What it does is someone will book a meeting and they will then be redirected to the discovery agent, where they'll have a conversation with the agent to go through what their business looks like, what their internal team and the processes actually look like, what they're struggling with, what they are trying to actually achieve, and what their automation goals are, and what they would like to use AI for. What that does is usually brings clarity to the prospective client, but then it also reduces the amount of time that I have to take going through that information in the discovery call. And so that usually saves me 15 to 20 minutes on a discovery call. And now what I can do is look at the Notion page that it creates when the conversation is finished, and I can look at the strategic aspects of what I can bring and can help the prospective client with. And that is far more valuable, and it allows me to work, and the agent does the work for me 24/7. It doesn't sleep, but when I am sleeping, it can be working as well. And ultimately, that is a digital teammate for me. And so what that does is it means that I can have an assistant that does the work, and I can focus on the client relationship that I need to, building the human aspect, because that is still important. But it really allows me to kind of delegate that task and that role almost to an AI and to a digital teammate. So that's been fantastic in my time using AI, and you can create these different agents for different parts of your business, not just growing the business, but it can be applied to every aspect and function within the business as well. So speaking of that, how work changes as you start to use AI. It can start from just automating the stuff that you do already that is highly manual, and that is a real time saver, and it brings huge amounts of efficiency gains in your business and in your role. You can also then move to step 2, which is filling in the gaps of knowledge that you may have, and also the weaknesses that you have. So if you start to use AI as a thought partner, as a collaborative partner, you are able to then bring up perspectives that you perhaps may never have actually got to before. And that's really, really beneficial, because it means that you can move forward far faster, make better decisions, and ultimately grow faster as well. Step 3 is where it gets really interesting, however, and this is where you start to understand what AI can do and its abilities to perhaps do the things that were never worth the effort before. That is really, really interesting, because something that, was too slow before, or it was too much hassle, or you just couldn't actually get to because you were snowed under with just the general day-to-day work that you have, can now be done by AI. And it surfaces insights, information, data that you perhaps wouldn't have ever actually fed into your business. And you, again, can make better decisions. You can move faster and have a finger on the pulse. So that, I think, is really interesting, and it particularly, I see people needing to go through steps 1 and 2 in order to get to step 3, because you perhaps don't know what AI can do for you, and it's only once you start using AI and implementing it and putting it into your workflows and into your team, then that's when you really get a feel for what is possible that wasn't possible before. And finally, step 4 is where you start to build your own tools. And I think this is something that is especially magical. Being able to create a discovery agent in my business would never have been something that I could dream of. I'm not a developer or an engineer, but what I did was I used AI in order to create that whole workflow, the UI, and I plugged it into my website. And that allowed me to ultimately have a digital team member. And so building customized tools that are personalized to your role, your workflows, and also your environment and your business context is not only fun, it's also incredibly powerful and brings a lot of efficiency gains and productivity as well. So, being able to build your own tools and then sharing that with your team, your customers, or whoever you're working with is the final kind of step where you start to really build AI fluency and become AI native as well. So the AI journey from level 1, where you're just using it as a glorified Google search and a chatbot, through to level 5, where it's actually a remote human and it's a digital team member that is doing whole sets of tasks and workflows without you having to be involved directly, is, very, very exciting. But it's also a process of exploring, learning, trying out the different tools, and being open to unlearning the things that you've already learned. The space moves incredibly fast, and so just because you have established yourself in one tool or one workflow doesn't mean that that necessarily is how you should work all the time going forward. So be open to just learning new ways of working and using these tools and seeing how far it gets as well. And that is going to put you into the kind of top 1% of AI users at the moment. So what I would love to challenge you to do is pick one of these 5 functions in your business this week and just try something in that area. You might be able to automate one of these workflows. You might be very surprised by what you can create, but I'd love for you to let me know how that goes and drop a comment in the comments, and I would love to, follow along with you as well. So that is how you can use AI in every part of your business. And the next question may be, where does AI actually fit in your own business, in your own workflows, and in your own team? That's what I'm going to create next. And I am really excited by this one because it has a whole framework of how you can start to unlayer and unpeel the layers of your business and really get a good, deep understanding of what AI can do, where it can fit, and what you can start to actually use going forward. So that should be around here. I'll see you there.